Hello, my darlings. As we exit spring and move into the hot summer months, our thoughts are on keeping our bodies fit, svelte, and snatched. And HelloFresh is here to help us reach our goals. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. So listen up. Go to HelloFresh.com/brothers16 and use code brothers16, for 16 free meals plus free shipping. It's my gift to you and all of your dinner guests. That's HelloFresh.com/brothers16 and use code brothers16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Bon appetit, uglies.
Now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Welcome, monsters, misfits, and miscreants, and all of the little creatures under our monochrome rainbow, to the Pride-themed episode of Creatures of the Night.
Happy Pride!
Work, mama! Yes, queen! I'll work, honey boots!
Okay, so why is Happy Pride so cringy?
It is.
Why?
I mean, I don't think it is to everybody. I really don't. And for those people, I love them for that. I love to celebrate through them while I watch them kind of feel all the feels of the rainbow and all that stuff. But for me, there's like a weird cringe to it. And I don't know how to put my finger on it.
I mean, for me, I think that it's like when we say capital P Pride to me, and God, I hate that I'm going to get on my capitalist like soapbox here, but it's like corporate pride. You know, it's like, this isn't really for me. Like, I don't think pride parades and pride celebrations don't represent me.
They
like,
don't represent you, but, you know, I'm being reminded at least why they are important, right? Because, okay, Target, right? Like, Target had all their Pride stuff ready to go, which, by the way, we were supposed to be a part of that. I don't know if I told you that.
The merch.
We were supposed to have Pride merch this year at Target, which would have been great. But anyways, and all these right-wing people attacked it, and so they pulled it. To me, I feel like that's very weak. That's a very weak signal to send, because the whole point of Pride is that you're sort of standing up in the face of adversity. So if you crumble at the first challenge, how prideful are you really? You know what I mean? Like, you're not very full of pride, in my opinion.
100%.
Yeah.
And just the littlest drop of fear, right, on Target's part, and they run. They hide in the corners. But this is the fear. Like, these kind of threats are what a lot of us grew up around.
Right.
This type of like threat of violence or being like X'd out or canceled or somehow like ignored or boycotted, like, welcome to our world, uglies. Like, this is the yoke that we've all grown up under. And I think we've come to better times, like softer times. But I look at the more precious generations and I do cringe for them because I feel for them and I fear for them a little bit because everybody's so special and like kind of soft about entitlement and like making space and stuff like that. But guess what, sweeties? You have to fight for that sometimes, and people will come at you and come at you very hard. And even the generations before us, they fought twice as hard as we did. It's time to get dirty again, it seems like.
I feel like you're hitting on something that I agree with. Like, when I think about Target canceling all their Pride stuff, like, I think it's weak, and I think that it's really sad that we are kind of looking at this as like, oh, how could Target do this? And I'm like, this is exactly why I think it's cringy, because at the first drop of fear, Target's like, ooh, I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, you know what? It would be really nice if someone would actually be like, hey, we are going to back the queer community, full stop. Like, fuck the bigots. We don't care. Like, we support our queer people. But instead, like, corporate pride doesn't mean anything to me because it's just like, okay, cool, you sold a rainbow t-shirt, but then you didn't sell the rainbow t-shirt.
It's
Make
weird.
sense.
I noticed that, like, I think Anheuser-Busch, and I should fact check this, but I think they actually doubled down on the response. You know, they got all that backlash, and I think that they donated like $200,000 to LGBTQ plus causes.
Oh, I hope that's
so
right.
So they're doubling down. It was either them, I don't know, I think they own Bud Light, but I'm not sure. I'm not like a beer queen, so I don't know. But
beer queen. Beer queen at the bar.
The pink-minded dollars will not forget that either.
No, I
like,
know.
The gay and queer memory runs long and deep. Like, someone who comes forward and stands by the community, they will be recognized and remembered for a long time. I want to talk about the cringiness, even though I cringe at it, and it isn't necessarily like the corporate aspect, although I can see that for sure. for me, I always just feel like once or twice removed. And I always have, right? Maybe we all have. And like, hi, that's where Dragula comes from and everything. It's like, I'm not only weird, I'm queer and weird. So even amongst the queer community, amongst the gay community, I feel like we're like a horse of another color. It takes a lot of extra energy to be like recognized because it's so strange. So I feel like it's cringy because it's not for me, but I can celebrate, and I'm happy that children might be able to go into a Target, you know, maybe not this year, but in the past. And that's why this is important, and just see a little bit of themselves in the t-shirt aisle, or just like, hey, what is this? And like, I might be part of that. And I think that's really important psychologically for children, and even adults that never had that in their growing life. And I think it's going to be felt, right? And who knows for how long. That's no longer with us, at least right now.
Visibility is important, right? Even as cringy as the rainbow flag may be to people like us, you know, it does mean something, and it sends a very important message of inclusivity. And maybe, you know, they're willing to change it now. So if you protest enough, maybe they'll add like a pink bat to the middle of it or something, because they're adding all sorts of things to it. Which I don't care. I'm like, put a star on it. You can put a giraffe on it. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
If
like,
Twitter has taught us anything, if you scream and cry long enough, things will change. Like,
maybe.
Yeah.
I do think, though, like, I have faith in sort of like Gen Z. Like, I feel like when push comes to shove, they'll stand up as queer people just like we did. They just haven't had to. And I think that's part of the problem, is that I think we're seeing the effects of maybe effort that other generations put in, right? Because, hi, everyone put all this effort in so that inclusivity was there. Well, it's there. So now a younger generation does not have to deal with the same challenges that other generations did. So now they're bratty about it, and they think it's fun to go on Twitter and cancel each other and be very divisive with each other. And I'm like, and this is something I've always said, it will be this way until the end of time. The left will always eat themselves. They will always eat themselves and tear themselves apart. And I think that's the biggest challenge when it comes to politics, is the right is very unified, and the left always, you can just guarantee they will destroy each other and never be unified. So at the end of the day, it's good that Target tried to do something. I think they said they were removing their merchandise to protect their employees. I think that's very weak. And I think it's a symbol that you don't understand the origins of that flag. Yeah. And you should not be allowed to sell it for that reason.
But I do want to go back to your intro where you kind of turned this phrase, the monochrome rainbow. And it reminds me of, I think we did a Dragula party back when those things happened, and it was in June. And I remember crafting, like, you know, it was a big, like, black rainbow going into two clouds, right? And the clouds had, like, really cutesy little faces, and they were vomiting the color rainbow.
Oh,
and
cute.
I actually feel like I've seen, like, weird merch that came up years later, like, kind of like that. That's the idea, right? My rainbow is kind of dreary and a little bit of, like, monochrome black. But when push comes to shove, I, too, could even vomit the rainbow.
Yeah. Well, you know what's weird to me is, like, we're talking about, like, oh, pride, capital P, pride, why is it so cringy? But, like, to me, I'm like, I am proud to be gay. Like, I am so proud that I am gay. And,
say it
like,
again.
I'm Mama, I am proud, Mary. Like, I'm proud to be gay. The thing is, I don't need the pride flag, but I think that there are people who do need it, you know? And like you said, like, visibility is important, and these things are important to other people.
Because symbols are powerful, and those symbols have an effect in their lives.
Yeah, but, you know.
I, too, thank the universe every day. Just as much as Ian looks at martyrs, I thank the universe that I am queer. I would have it no other way.
So you're obsessed.
I don't want to be part of any other community. I'm very fucking happy being a queer person today. And I think about that more than Ian thinks about martyrs.
Whoa.
Well, let's think about the maybe more fun side of Pride, right?
Oh, yes.
What would you say is the gayest horror movie you've ever seen?
Ooh.
A rocker.
Could be. Is that it?
I don't know. I just threw it out there because I know Ian too. Like, we kind of separately have had like this resurged love and recognition and rewatches of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yes.
And I think I've never in my life appreciated and loved him more than I do right now.
Yeah,
like,
same.
what a tragedy. I do. I watched it and I was like, oh my God, I'm so here for this movie right now. I was just loving it in ways I've never loved it before.
More.
You mean she?
definitely a movie for the current generation, in my opinion, because it's very genderless and all over the place and pansexual, you know? Yeah.
I do love it.
It's got a little bit of like a Gen Z sensibility in terms of like the pacing because it is manic. I mean, it's like almost like TikTok in the way that it'll be like shift from like, well, it's just a jump to the left and then a step to the right and
Yeah.
your hips. But
no,
it's
it's
like
a lot.
wild.
It really is. Yeah. That just came to mind just because I have rewatched it very recently. Another one that comes off as like really gay is Fright Night. Like Fright Night has like a very homoerotic sensibility with like those questionable neighbors. And I think just the shoulder pads and like the 80s of it all is like really gay.
I think my pick is going to be The Old Dark House or Death Becomes Her, which I think
Death
is a super
Becomes Her.
gay.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's not overtly gay at all, it's so gay.
Totally. I was trying to think of like a subversion that's like like a super macho horror movie that I can be like, oh, this is gay. But I'm going to go with another new French extremity. I'm going to go with High Tension, which is a lesbian horror film. And it is super brutal. And it's just bleak.
I literally have that loaded on my phone, ready for my intercontinental flight tomorrow night on the way to Australia. Yes, I have High Tension. I think I'm going to rewatch Rocky again.
Ooh.
What else did I download? I'm not remembering. Oh, Renfield. We've talked about watching it for
We ain't
weeks
watching
now.
it.
I'm
We're
going to
not
watch
watching
it.
I might watch all of the Evil Deads, but I haven't decided yet.
You should. And you
Because
know-
I'll say this to all our listeners who are going to have a heart attack. I have never watched any Evil Dead, none of it. I never have. I've
Oh
never had
my
an
God.
Gay
Ash-
pride gasp.
Ash versus the Evil Dead, any of that, none of it. I've had zero interest in anything to do with that franchise. And I know people think I should have watched every horror movie in existence, but I have not, and I will not. But I might go ahead and watch this so I know what the fuck you all are talking about.
Okay.
You
all right,
should.
Mama.
Will it be boring on a plane, though? What do you think? Is it going to be like terrible?
Boring, it will not be. It's wacky, and you're probably going to hate them all. But I've
Maybe I wanna think.
never seen the third one.
Oh, the Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead. I've not seen that one yet. Yeah.
I'm also going to throw in Megan as a gay horror movie because even though it's
Yeah.
not a gay horror movie, that is a gay horror movie.
We all showed up for Megan. And you know, it's another one. This is a little more highbrow gay, and I think a little more fashion gay with a little gothic twist would be The Hunger.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can see that. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how about who are your favorite horror hunks? Like I'm talking about like, you know, when you used to watch like horror movies back in the day and they would stick out and you'd be like, "Oh wait, I'm gay." Like who are those characters for you? Cuz there's like all kinds of Instagrams and everything like fan accounts about this stuff, so I was curious like who you all's
totally.
picks were.
Well, like talk about hunk, like quintessential 80s hunk is the guy from Silent Night Deadly Night, the one who puts on the Santa suit.
Right.
Yes.
Very much so. But the original one, the first one,
Right.
which we rewatched, and he's like super hot.
He is really hot. We can't talk about the second one because everybody knows I hate like what's your favorite this and what's your least favorite that. But I knew after I watched Silent Night Deadly Night 2 that I had my answer of what is the worst horror movie I have ever seen in my life, and it is Silent Night Deadly Night 2. I dare anyone to fuck with that.
I feel like I have to apologize to myself because this question threw me for a loop. I was like, wait, horror hunks? I don't have it. And they're like, oh, wait, I remembered who I am. I'm like, Mama, we have Vincent Price looking snacky in House of Wax. We have my 80s daddy, Kurt Russell, in The Thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
my
I know. That's why I
God.
thought you would have like 100.
I don't know. Honestly, I got thrown because of Pride. I was like, let me try to be corporate Pride. But Mama, I love a horror hunk.
A lot of guys that became like A-list celebrities started off in like horror movies. Like Chris Hemsworth was in. What
Oh,
was he in?
yeah.
He was like a little twink back then.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, he was in something. I think there like a couple of them were in movies like that.
I have a recent one too, but what do you say? Swan?
One for me is his name is Jason Patrick. He played Michael from The Lost Boys.
Oh right, yeah, that's a classic one.
Very sexual.
I remember the character Brady in Halloween 4 was really hot too.
Ooh.
I have like a weird pick, and this is a recent one. I think that Kyle Gallner, who plays the cop in Smile, is like he just looks so
yeah, we were
slutty.
talking about him.
Oh, he
Yeah.
is
Literally, I'm
very horny.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, Mama, you need to calm down.
I was like, this guy's sex appeal is like jumping off the screen.
Oh, Mama, when the Mama Monster at the end opens her mouth up, I was like, same. Me at Kyle Gallner.
Well, for those of you at home, Google horror hunks and you'll see there are like millions of hot guys, especially in the 80s. There was a lot of hot shirtless guys. Sleepaway Camp, everyone was in half shirts and, you know?
What's the one? It's like Friday the 13th 2.
Yes.
All of the campers are like
Super
right out of
hot.
80s
Super
porn.
hot,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, running shirtless and like, full like half nude people. It's amazing.
Oh, what about the pervert in the hi the me? What about the pervert from X who's like the director who like gets killed in his whitey tighties?
Oh, that's right. You liked him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyways, we're going to take a break and we're going to leave the sleepaway camp woods. And when we come back, we're going to dive into the Yellow Jackets wilderness. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, my darlings. As we exit spring and move into the hot summer months, our thoughts are on keeping our bodies fit, svelte, and snatched. And HelloFresh is here to help us reach our goals. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. By taking all of the annoying work out of thinking about what's best to buy and schlepping to the grocery store, HelloFresh makes home cooking easy, affordable, and fun. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. When I'm not overwhelmed with ruling the underworld, I actually love to entertain guests and dazzle them with my culinary creations. And one of my secret weapons has always been HelloFresh. It's always helped me keep things interesting by providing fresh ingredients and everything I need to make them with easy step-by-step instructions, so I never mess it up. They all take about 15 minutes to make, so I can keep everyone's belly happy, but still have plenty of time to focus on the good stuff, like looking fabulous and having fun with my evil friends. This summer, you can too, by allowing HelloFresh to help you spend less time sweating in the kitchen and more time sweating with your sexy guests. So listen up. Go to HelloFresh.com/brothers16 and use code brothers16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. It's my gift to you and all of your dinner guests. That's HelloFresh.com/brothers16 and use code brothers16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Bon appetit, uglies. Everybody knows the Boulets love reality TV shows in all their forms, but we also really love finding all kinds of new podcasts to listen to. Reality Roundup podcasts, true crime, horror, we're into it all. And recently, we came across Crooked Media's new podcast, Lovett Or Leave It, and it is so good. It's a variety show podcast that breaks down the week's news and politics with pop culture, their sketches and games. It's kind of a little bit of everything, and I think that's why it's so fun. Every week, John is joined by an all-star lineup of comedians and journalists and other amazing guests. They hit the stage and record live in front of a studio audience. It really sets Love It or Leave It apart, with episodes delivered to your ears every Saturday morning. The show pairs up senators with actors and drag queens and comedians, and the wildest content unfolds. Some of my favorite guests have been, of course, Bob the Drag Queen, who, of course, was on Dragula and can basically do no wrong, with Patty Harrison, Danny DeVito, and the list just goes on. The show is available everywhere, and we mean everywhere. Listen weekly on your favorite podcast platform and catch video clips from the show on the Love It or Leave It YouTube channel. New episodes of Love It or Leave It drop every Saturday morning. Listen for free wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, and welcome to this episode's Junior Mints Movie Club review. This week, we are recapping and reviewing Season 2 of Showtime's Yellow Jackets, and I can't wait to dig in. It's finally here. We're doing it.
We are doing it. I'm so excited. We were talking about Yellow Jackets all the time, so much that I think we lost half our listeners. Now I can't. But I did notice when we were doing the podcast live,
Yes.
we'd be like, who's ready for us to review Yellow Jackets? And they're like,
Not
really?
They're like, wait, didn't we watch that like last winter?
shut up. I know. And by the way, is it officially redubbed now? The Junior Mints Movie Club review?
I think it just happened.
Oh,
I think it just
my
happened, you
God.
guys.
Well, guess what?
What?
The merch is in. I saw it.
Oh my God.
I can't wait.
The snack pouch is so cute. I want one.
When we get back from Australia, we're going to go over to the factory and look at everything.
Yes.
So you'll all get to see it, and maybe we'll tease it online.
I love it. Because, I'm going to have my tumbler on my left, my snack pouch on my right, and when we record next time, you're going to hear... and all the little sound effects of Junior Mints happening as we review.
I said it when we were doing the podcast on tour, and I mean it. All of these items are useful because they'll save you a lot of money, because you can fill your snack pack with all your candies, and then you can bring a tumbler in with a drink. You don't have to pay all those high-end movie prices.
Or you can be a weirdo like me and bring a trench coat in the middle of the summer full of snacks.
Oh, my God. I remember we went to watch What's the movie we went to see that was like she's in the tunnel under the house or whatever? You all
you're
loved
talking
it.
Barbarian.
Barbarian.
My favorite movie of 2022.
I was on like a crazy diet and I snuck in a giant bag of that like Whole Foods like low whatever. Remember that popcorn that they made? Smart
like,
Pop or whatever.
Lesser
Ate
evil.
the whole bag. I was like, I don't know if it's lesser evil if you eat the entire fucking bag, but whatever. I'm sure it was a little less than regular popcorn.
That's a very good snacker.
Okay, so let's get to Yellow Jackets. We've been waiting to watch this forever, and finally we have watched everything up through the finale, and so now we're going to talk about it. So I think we should talk about the past sequences first, right?
Sure.
So let's go.
We kind of have like two timelines, right? So we'll talk about the past first, and then we'll fast forward to the future.
I think so, because they're so separate and not connected. So, okay, so in the past, the girls found Javi. Not to be confused with JV, Ian. I know that you saw that written there.
Oh, I did. Or not to be confused with, I'll call you out here later, Javi brother, whose name is Travis.
That's JV brother.
Oh, JV brother. Perfect.
Wow.
Okay, so the girls found JV after months of being lost,
my God.
but he wouldn't tell them where he was, right? And he wouldn't talk. Shauna has a baby, but it actually was stillborn, and she has like kind of a breakdown.
I mean, kind of a breakdown is, I think, putting it very lightly.
I guess,
We're having,
hallucinating that you had a real baby is
a complete psychological breakdown.
Yeah.
Been there.
I'm kind of working through my own right now, and that's why I use BetterHelp.
Oh
No kidding.
my
I'm sorry.
God. So then Shauna has her breakdown, and then she beats up Lottie. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
I had a problem with that.
She beat the shit out of her.
Because first of all, I'm like, I've seen a lot of fights,
Uh-huh.
and I've never seen someone get beat up that bad. And if I did, I think they would be dead. What do you all think?
Yes, and I dislike the sort of sanctimonious, like, she needed to get all her pain out on me. I'm like, oh my God.
See,
like,
I'm totally here for that. I like that she was like, I'm going to be the conduit. You know, Lottie's like kind of scrying into the future, her like omniscience or whatever it is, that her connection to the wilderness, her saying like, you know, she needs to channel this somewhere. She's falling apart. We need her. So like, I'll take it, was about the only part I liked about that. Because I hate seeing violence and I don't enjoy people getting their ass kicked, because I was actually around a ton of that when I was younger, and I have seen people get brutally beat like that.
Yeah, but they don't swell up that instantly like that. Like, she would be dead. But also, I'm like, I'm like this. Shauna, go outside and punch a tree and get over it, right? Like, why do you have to beat up Lottie? Like, go outside and beat up a tree. It made me hate Shauna even more.
I mean, okay, I will say this. I mean, hi, the Shauna apologist here. Like, I know things are dire, but I was a little like, oh, thank God, I hate Lottie.
Really?
Like,
You hate Lottie?
Well, even though I hate her sanctimonious bullshit of like, she had to get it out on me. Like, I do think it sets like 90s Lottie up for my favorite part, which is like Lottie's psychological break of like, oh God, I don't want this. Like, and I do love that. But yeah, I'm like, kick her ass. Like, she deserves it.
Beat her.
I thought that the other ones would have stopped her, you know? Like, they just sat there and watched. I'm like,
They're
y'all
bored.
are weird.
They were like, we don't have TV.
I'm
so
like, why? I'm like, Shauna, I would have to be like this. If I was there, if I was the whistling girl or one of those people, I'd be like, all right, everybody, listen up. Shauna, you're fucking annoying. Okay, you got too much shit going on. I get it. You're a drama. You're pregnant. You cheated. You killed Jackie. It's over for you. We're eating you. You're the heaviest here, and you will keep us fed. You will keep us fed for longer than anybody else. You're now mincemeat.
I don't know. I'm looking over at the coach and I'm like, those thighs still got a little meat on
He's
them.
one of the only guys there. You can't eat him.
Yes, I can.
You can't cook him.
Happy Pride, everyone.
I thought you were going to say those legs, and you can't use an ass because she only got one.
Wow.
Let me not make my third leg joke.
Oh, what I'm trying to figure out, because I'm kind of enamored and I'm kind of into the idea of like the tribal roles that everybody sort of takes on now that they're in the wild. And there's very much this like spiritual aspect of living in the woods. And we'll get to the house burning down, or why didn't they run away, or why don't they try to escape? And I kind of feel like this is where their clan sort of exists under these new rules, right? But the piece I can't figure out is, and I said this to you, Drac, like, what is Misty's role? Because she's kind of like, she has a unique role, and she's sort of the speaker or something like that between the mystic and the rest of the tribesmen. And she even edits and manipulates the messages of the speaker, the messages of the mystic, and the reaction of the tribe. And she really manipulates the whole feeling of everyone.
I guess you're right. We have like a hunter role. We have this sort of mystic / leader role. We have her who's sort of the speaker. We have Shauna, who's just annoying and sad.
Well, Shauna handles the meat.
Oh,
Yes.
she's the butcher.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right. Is
She
that why
is.
they like her so much? Because I'm like, what does she do for you?
Yeah.
She tends the bodies and the meat, and she portions everything out. And there's another girl, and I don't know
Meat
that she has a
queen.
name. She's kind of like the alpha of like the basics. You know, she's just like a regular tribe
The
background.
way-
But she's
what
like,
was she?
we're gonna follow. You know, we need her, and that's what we're doing. And everyone's like, you're right. That is what we're doing. But she's still like Lottie's like number one pawn. You know? Do you know who I mean?
Yeah, I know who you. I have no idea what her name is.
Yeah.
It's weird though. I think that Misty, the end of the season is like everyone kind of comes to terms with like the futility of their situation, which I kind of live for. But I think that Misty proves her worth very early on in season 1, where it's like she's the only one with medical knowledge. And so I think that when it's revealed that Shauna is pregnant, it's like, oh, Misty is going to be the one to deliver this baby. Like, if we need something, Misty will know what to do. Cut to Misty's crisis of like, I am in way over my head. And Lottie's like, you have to get in there. You have to do this. Like, I don't know. I think that they sort of like try to raise her up, but then she fails.
Like, you're the doctor. And she's like, I don't know why, but okay. I guess I can take that responsibility.
I love the flashbacks to the childhood timeline because we all imagine ourselves here, right? Like Jack and I have these conversations. Could you do this part? Who would you be here?
Yeah.
If you had like the Javi situation where
okay,
they,
yeah.
you know, when his body was brought back, could you bleed him out and butcher him if it meant the survival of everyone? We had different answers.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Yeah, for me it was a yes. I could do this if I had to, but for Drac it was like a hell no. Like I could never
really?
really do that.
Yeah,
not to a person.
Well, no, like if it was one of our friends were there and then they died, like I don't think I could do it. I don't know. I mean, especially not because, okay, remember, and this is sort of, we were going to cover this anyway. So the girls end up killing Javi. And so they bring him back immediately and chop him up. And I think that was part of it too, is it was so soon. Like with Jackie, she was there for a long time and I could see how maybe her body would start to become more
Less of a human, more
yeah,
of like a...
yeah.
Delicious.
But for him, it was like you just watched him drown and let him die like 10 minutes ago. I'm like, oh no.
Well, I think that sort of ties into like Javi's death is it's like the wilderness, you know, asked for it, or it's like, you know, the wilderness selected him. And so I think that they were kind of like, hey, someone's going to die. Natalie, it's you. And then we're going to eat you, Natalie. But then, you know, Javi dies and they're kind of like, oh, okay, well, teehee, actually, Javi's on the menu. I don't know. I think that it sort of speaks to like their mental state is they're not doing well. They're not doing good.
Again, though, Misty plays the hand of God like over and over throughout the childhood timeline. She hides the black box, so she ensures that they all stay there because it makes her valuable. She manipulates Lottie's messages from, you know, the speaker or the seer to the tribe, and then from the tribe to the seer. And she basically is in Natalie's ear like, don't save him. Don't save him because if you do,
They're
they'll
gonna
kill
kill
you
you.
right
Yeah.
now. And like, it's such a fateful decision made in a split second and then totally different timeline.
You know, you're making me think about, this is just one of my wishes for the show. Like, Misty has the capacity to be like such a delicious villain. Like, young Misty is so unhinged. Like you're saying, like she's manipulative and does all this stuff. Cut to like present day Misty, she gets stigmatized by the Hobbit and then like, you know, fails. I'm just like,
Another reason to love her. I'm kidding.
So moving forward, so they eat Javi, then the coach gets freaked out, he escapes and lives in Javi's cave. So then that like leads to Natalie becoming the leader of the group, right?
Which was a kind of a shocking turn of events.
I thought so too, but I mean, I have a feeling she's going to be the one that kind of leads them out of this somehow. I don't know.
I could see that. I mean, before I realized what was actually being shown, I thought that for a second, oh, the cabin burning down, this is the catalyst for them being rescued. But then they pan out and it's like, oh, teehee, sorry, the infinite abyssal darkness of where they're at. Like there's, I mean, the smoke just looks like clouds. Like they ain't getting rescued.
So that was the thing. That's what the season cliffhanger or whatever is, that their cabin burns down. Now, clearly they're setting it up to be like, well, you can all go live in this cave because Javi survived there for a month. But it's kind of weird, right? Because, I mean, at this point, they don't know about the cave, right?
I think only the coach had alluded to it to Natalie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But she doesn't know where it is.
But this kind of brings us to our queer characters, and they're not even queer coded. They're just like straight up lesbians. You know, Thaisa and Van have been kind of having this subplot line
Yeah.
about Thaisa's sort of like night terrors and that kind of a a second self that she has, and the shadow self who's aware of all the tree
symbols
marks
and the trees,
and how they kind of like triangulate where that cave was. And I think that's how they ultimately found Javi. So maybe there'll be a piece to that. But something that I found interesting, and I know it's part of the key of like understanding the larger story, is that once Thaisa kind of crossed over and accepted Lottie as her Lord and Savior and started eating the meat, the nightmares went away. Like the torment went away. She's like, now that I'm kind of like following our spiritual leader, I'm not tormented by this wilderness spirit. And there's something about like order and being controlled, and like I don't know what it is, but hopefully we'll figure it out.
Yes, and I feel like that is one of my favorite parts about season 1, which I don't think that they really lean into in season 2, which is it magic or is it just what's happening out there? Because yes, Thaisa accepts Lottie as their leader and then suddenly she's kind of cured. But I'm like, okay, is that she's kind of allowed this magic into her life, or is it just that like the power of belief is enough to kind of keep her going? Like, isn't that sort of what religion is all about anyway? Like just a belief system?
I think it can be both.
Yeah.
So are we all on the same page that this is our more favorable part of the two halves of the show, like the past sequence, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get into that next, but a couple of questions I had about the past timeline before we move on was, why don't they try to walk away? Okay, because like, and I know it's a fantasy. We've been over this 100 times on this podcast, but they did not crash on an island. They are not in the ocean somewhere. They are just in like Canada or something. So like what they know that they weren't flying over water. So why hasn't someone said, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk because I know if I head in any direction, I will eventually hit a city.
Okay. There's a lot going on in this show. So panning back and just asking yourself a simple question like that doesn't happen. I mean, I get the timelines and the switching new characters and everyone's like crazy and murdering people and, you know, doing wild stuff. So just panning back, I don't even think 1 year has passed since they've been stranded. Right. But we have two major factors that I think give us the answer. Number one is it's winter. It's covered in snow and mountains. So if you can't keep yourself warm and fed, you die. And I think that can just happen in a couple days. Maybe even the first night, like hypothermia, you would freeze. But number two, you also have a pregnant woman with you. So there's a pregnancy.
Split up.
Well, there's a third, and I agree with both those points. But they also have tried this before. Like they tried to escape in season 1. And what happened? The wilderness sort of answered that question, was like, absolutely not. Van is going to get eaten by these wolves, and y'all are going to go back to the cabin and sit your asses down.
Well, the blonde girl exploded over the lake, but we know she's still alive, right, Jack?
Right.
Oh, tell us about it.
She's in the cave. But anyways, now that's what y'all are going to be gagged when they go to the cave, and the coach is going to be there with the blonde girl. Because
I will be gagged.
Because guess
wait.
what?
I can't
Because
wait.
guess what? Javi was in there for a month. That blonde girl could be in there. You don't know.
I love your face. I love your spirit.
And you love the coach's leg.
There's one. Oh my God.
Holy shit.
Let's just say, I mean, I'll just be honest with you. Even if I tried before and the wilderness tricked me, once we started eating at each other, I'd be like, guys, I'm out. Like, I'm going to just take my chances and try to do this and just dress real warm and bring some firewood with me. But let's just say they didn't do that. Why is nobody looking for them? This is not the 50s. Like, it's in the 90s. Like, people would look for them.
I think that one of my favorite things about when we do the newly minted Junior Mints Movie Club reviews is, we all have different perspectives that we
Newly minted.
we all have different perspectives. And I think that you look at what we watch with a critical, pragmatic, real lens. But for me in this situation, I'm like, well, I think that people are desperately looking for them. But I do here's my big prediction is that there is nothing supernatural, but that there is like magnetic poles or something like the Bermuda Triangle. Like, it's just science. It's like why shit goes weird. Like, I think that there is something that's happening, but like they can't be found basically.
But they have a fire burning constantly. Every single night there is a fire with smoke coming out of that house. There is no way that nobody couldn't find them.
But the question of like, why don't they just get found, or why, who's looking for them? I feel like they answered that one for me in the finale, where it's like the house is on fire. And I'm like, okay, surely a house level fire will, someone's going to see it. But then they pan out and it's like, whether it's the wilderness, big air quotes, capital W wilderness, or it's just, the dark, it's so dark that no one is going to see this. And that's like,
yeah, but
brutal.
In the daytime, you'd see the smoke plume. I don't know. Look, obviously, they must be implying that there's some sort of like magical, like, I guess it's not a Bermuda Triangle. It's like what? Canadian Triangle thing that's happening.
A Canadian square.
Canadian Alaska square, MC squared thing happening.
Yes.
Okay, so whatever.
That's
That's fine for that. But to me, it just seems like, I don't know. When you start eating each other, you might say, if I don't start walking, I'm next. So like at some point, I feel like you just risk it. But whatever, who knows? All right, let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to discuss the present day half of Yellow Jackets and see what you all think of that. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, my little darlings, and welcome to the present-day timeline of Yellow Jackets Season 2. We're jumping now from the past, where we last left them, the entire cabin was burning down. And what a shot. That was really a dramatic shot. And I think it's inferred that the coach, who's now completely freaked out by their version of like the girls' team, Lord of the Flies style, is just like they've gone over to like just pure savagery, and he nailed them in and literally tried to kill them all. Like that's what
we don't know
with.
that
we
for
don't
sure.
But that
it could
is
be the blonde girl.
Heavily inferred.
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay.
It's the ghost of Javi, and also the blonde.
You know what? This show did jump the shark a little bit this season.
Oh, it totally did.
Let's jump it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, Blondie killed them.
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear is going to come up in season 3. Cocaine Shark is going to come up the shore.
I'm into it. Okay, but just one last thing on the past timeline. I'm like, all right, ladies, I know that things are dire, and I know that, the house is on fire. You have the axe, bust a window, please. They're like kicking the door down. I'm like, okay. I'm like divas. Like, hello, there's so many windows. Just smash one.
Well, not to mention, I mean, there's so many people in the house. And it's so quiet at night in the woods. Don't you think you'd hear someone nailing, a thing over the door?
100%.
Yeah.
Like 1,000. I mean, the way I sleep, you make the one little and I'm awake. Like I'm like shot up awake. Anyway, the show asks us to suspend our disbelief, and we do. And we don't know if we're dealing with magical forces or the collective like desperation or whatever it is. But we're now in the present timeline. Fast forwarding as season 2 culminates, all of our main characters end up at Lottie's mountain retreat. And Lottie basically thinks that the wilderness wants them to do what it's always done, which is, as we learn, a hunt must ensue. Like, has the wilderness ever given us anything for free? Like, we have to hunt, and one of them is the prey.
Yeah.
What do we think of this idea?
I thought it was very strange. I found it hard. I couldn't buy the fantasy, like, I don't know. It almost feels like they're like, oh, what do we do in the present day? I don't know. Let's like do this, because I'm like, I thought it was weird. What did you think, Ian?
I 100% agree, because to answer your question, Swan, I fully buy that in that situation in the past, I'd be like, well, yeah, the wilderness demands sacrifice. I'm like, I haven't eaten in 1,000 years. Like, I'm feeling crazy. Absolutely. But in the present, like, I thought that the show was going to go more in a like true crime drama kind of like. The cop is like, I'm going to figure out what's happening with like the Yellow Jackets, and they band together. But instead, they sort of loop back to the sort of like, is it supernatural? I mean, it does lead to one of my favorite quotes from the finale, which is when Shauna is like, oh, what? You're just going to like, you listen to, the wilderness or the it that's out there. And they're like, there is no it. It's just us. And it's like, what's the difference? And I'm like, okay, that's where the show really culminates, is like, the wilderness has just been inside them the whole time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I did think it was a little silly and weird. I'm like, okay, just put on these masks that I guess you've had the whole time. Like, whatever.
Well, they showed them making
They
it.
made
But
that
I
all
thought
that.
it was like, to me, I don't know. Like, if you ever go back and visit like high school friends, or you go back to your hometown or something, and you're just not anywhere near who you were when you were that age, and you have a life and like an adult life and jobs, and all these people do. They have partners and responsibilities and things. I just find it very far-fetched. They'd be like, yeah, you're right. When we were high school kids, we did this. So now I'm going to be willing to commit murder. I'm like, no, you wouldn't.
I don't know. I hate the phrase trauma bond, but that applies here like sort of perfectly. And I can think back to periods in my life, not on this level. Hi, I've never had like a cannibalistic episode with my friends.
Wait, you haven't?
No, not.
Oh, we're going to Australia.
Not yet. But I have had like crazy experiences with a tight group of friends, and or may or may not have been hallucinogens involved. And when we talk again later in our lives and we think back to that, no other person on the planet can relate to that energy and that connection and that experience except for the people that were there. And this is such an intense shared experience. I kind of do believe they could revert right back to those people that they were when they were children and never kind of got over it. There is no therapy that can erase that. All of their lives are still very, very messy from this experience. So I don't know. I'm kind of on board with we can go back to those roles, and maybe there's something that we need to address that was never been addressed.
Maybe, but like, how old do you think Thaisa's kid is?
11.
Okay,
maybe?
I would've
so
said, like,
okay,
9.
No, yeah,
11,
younger,
right?
yeah,
How
9.
long do you think? So she's been with her wife, and she's had a kid, and the kid's 11. How long do you think they were in the woods for?
I think up until this point, it's
16
only
months.
it's going to be less than 2 years.
No way that someone, think about it. She's had this adult life with this kid and this wife, and no way would she question that over something that happened for 16 months. That's
Yeah,
what
but
I
she has
think.
a dark-sided diva living inside of her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I think this is, like you said, like the show asks us to sort of suspend our disbelief.
It asks a lot. It really does.
The
I think she
finale
might
really
ask
did.
too much.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
let's pick up with after that.
This character, Walter, right? The Hobbit. I can't stand this character.
Yep.
Like this character, on one level, I love that Misty has found her kind of like perfect playmate / lover. And I do kind of like enjoy that. But this is where I think that the adult timeline goes so far into like, this is an unbelievable person lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scene for me that was wow. I wish everyone could see the the notes that we're referencing here. Anyway, yeah, for me the scene that I was like, I close my laptop. I'm gonna pack my bag. I'm gonna take my wig and I'm gonna leave. Is when Walter, full speed Hobbit, runs, grabs the mustache cop's gun, shoots Kevin in the back of the car, and is like, "Hey, now you're implicated." I'm like, "No, you're
No,
not.
yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
isn't real, diva."
This is
like,
my
that was-
least favorite
yeah.
part of the entire both seasons of
It
the
was
show.
Same.
I'm sorry, it was bad. It was
Yeah.
not a good moment.
I don't like it. I don't buy it. I don't like how it tried to like neatly wrap up everyone's storylines. Not
I
a
was
fan.
upset.
I left
Yeah.
another note for you.
Oh, okay,
I was
fabulous.
upset.
Oh, so the mustache slut cop is now Ian's lover, mustache the ride cop, as Ian calls him. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, okay, but so like that moment, I was frustrated. Like I think I'm sure we'll get to the wrap up, but I love Yellow Jacket season 1. Like I think it's like pinnacle prestige television level amazing. And I just felt like this, like the finale is a good example of like why I'm a little concerned for the future of Yellow Jackets, because I was like, oh, this is messy and not in a fun way. I'm like, I don't like that it's wrapping up in this way. I just don't love like Callie's involved, and it's like everyone it's like all happening so fast, but it's so fast, and they're like, oh, well, we could just package this up, and I'm like, no, like
Yeah.
what's happening?
Yeah, it drug out and then wrapped up way too fast, in my opinion. I don't like Walter.
I completely agree. The pacing was slow and methodical almost the whole season. And at the end, it was like, we have 6 or 7 pieces left. Let's throw all of them at the finale within the last like 10 minutes.
So with that whole thing with Walter and I, so this implies that Shauna is also now completely
Absolved
absolved
Yes.
of all. I mean, that also, this has been a driving thing from the beginning, and now we're just going to like neatly erase it. That's silly.
I guess I'm answering my own question now, because as we discuss, my wheels are turning in the background, because the wilderness takes and gives, right? So once the sacrifice is given, they get to eat Shauna. And once the sacrifice is given, who knows what's going to happen next now that the house burned down. Like something will develop from that. And now that Natalie is like surprise killed, like everyone's absolved and life is going to kind of like rewrite itself in some way. Like it needed a sacrifice, and what sacrifices are not for nothing. Like we get something in return for them. So maybe the gift is that everyone sort of goes where they should be. And that includes Lottie being sort of like whisked away to get, mental help, and like Shauna sort of off the hook. Maybe that's what that's about.
But
there is a question though that one of my favorite moments because to me it planted a seed, and I really hope the writers are doing something like intentional with about the next generation, because I don't know if any of them really have children. Like we do have Thaisa's boy, but I'm not even sure if that's her biological boy, and it might matter because, you know, the generations of this tribal idea, right? Because when Shauna's daughter comes in and pulls the gun, like Lottie's gagged. She's like, "This is your daughter.
She's so
she's
strong.
She's so powerful."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because like kind of the hairs went up on the back of my neck, because like, you know, what does that mean in the middle of the woods, in front, you know, stopping the kill and literally again altering the timeline of who's going to go and who's going to stay. Just really interesting.
I agree. I thought that part was maybe one of the. It's just. I mean, it is just a piece of dialogue, but I do think it's like one of the best parts of that because I don't know. There's like such a weird like who's on first comedy of that scene where it's like, hi, we're all middle-aged people chasing each other through the woods wearing masks, and I've got a knife, and you know, Misty's got this syringe full of bullshit, and then oop. Here's Callie. Oh, but just wait. There's more. Here's Lisa with a fucking gun. I'm like, oh my God.
Everybody run. Callie's got a gun. And I was so enamored by all the masks because it was like, let's all design different masks.
Yeah.
And you get asymmetry, and you get the bark, and you get the feather, and you get the bird beak. And it was just too
It started running. I was like, God, it's like the Benny Hill theme in the background.
Yeah.
So what do you think, you know, of the surprise death? Let's talk about that, because Natalie is killed by Misty accidentally, and that's it. What do you all think of that?
I love Natalie's character. I love damaged characters. I like people. I hate even use the word broken, because I think everybody's kind of damaged to some degree, and I guess I enjoy really damaged people. And even in my personal life, I give people that have seen a lot and have been through a lot, like tons and tons of like passes. I feel connected to characters like that. So I hated to see Natalie go through this. My prediction is I don't know that she's gone. Even though
I'm sorry, this is your blonde girl.
Yeah,
she's dead, mama.
She's
Why?
dead. Because she just is. They've even talked about it in like articles and
well,
stuff.
I can't take. I'm not going to say like I cheated and went and read reviews like y'all did. But I'm just saying.
But the coroners came and like put her in the body bag.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah,
totally.
Maybe I just kind of like cashed out high. It was a lot.
There's a lot. I
Yeah.
understand. There
I'm
is
like,
a lot going on.
I'm taking my purse and I'm leaving now because this ending is crazy.
Oh, girl, I literally when Natalie was on the plane, I was like, goodbye and good night, everyone.
I'm not happy with it.
To answer your question,
Oh,
Drag,
right. We did that whole thing.
I am displeased with the outcome of this show.
Yeah.
I'm not happy.
Yeah, they killed Natalie and brought in the Hobbit. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, to mirror what you said, Swan, you know, about like you like damaged characters, I will say I do love some bleak shit. So, you know, Misty's breakdown of like, I killed my best friend, which I'm like, also not your best friend. That's your delusion.
I thought that too.
But like, you know, like her, it's weird. It's like, I feel like these were characters previously that I was like, wow, like I root for them in different ways. But in the aftermath of season 2, I'm like, I don't know that I really feel attached to anyone except for Lauren Ambrose's acting, who's adult Van. I feel like she says like 3 lines in the whole episode, and I was like, wow, she is giving. Happy Pride.
I think you're too attached to your days of like 6 feet under. I'm like, she good.
I know. I actually thought she was really fake seeming.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, she gave the best nonverbal acting in the whole episode.
I don't know.
Divas.
I felt like she was kind of try hardy. I didn't buy her for some reason. But
So who is your favorite character so far? Like as now season 2 is over, so we have 1 and 2, adult version or child version. You can only pick one.
I think the person who is the most fun to watch for me is Baby Misty.
Bam. That's the one for me.
That's the
too.
one that's because I just don't know what's going to happen. And by the way, when you said she was like, oh, I killed my friend, I'm like, yeah, again.
You're like, it's what you do. It's what
I
you
know,
live
like, why
for.
so shocked, lady? You've done this before.
Oh my God. I think that my favorite like 90s timeline is Natalie. I've really developed a soft spot for young Natalie. And I think that the way that her character, not even just her, but like her positioning on the show, like the weird, almost kind of like Lion King moment where like they all and like they pay their respects to like the new queen. I was like, okay, this is weird on a level that I can actually get into. I'm like, oh, we've all lost the plot. Like no one is sane anymore. And I was really into that. And I like Natalie. Sophie Thatcher. I think she's great.
She's a
Yours
great character.
Baby
Mine is
Misty?
Baby Misty too,
Okay.
but I also love Natalie, young Natalie.
Gotcha.
And guess what? I'm a Shauna stan. Like I think Shauna is a very interesting character. Like I love how corrupt she is as an adult. I love that she like fucks the young guy. I love that she pulls her husband into it. Her husband's fucked up. Her daughter's fucked up. Like everything she touches turns to ash. Like I'm really into it.
She's definitely She's definitely like one of the most interesting characters on the show. She elicits a lot of response. Like even for me, to me, there's something about her that feels very selfish. And I think in an environment when you're a tribe and it's about survival, that person to me has to go. That person has to go because it sucks too much attention and resources, you know?
Okay, on that note, and I do have a weird thing to say on the Shauna thing, but when Shauna is writing in her journal at like the very end of the episode, I like paused it and she like basically says something to the effect of like, this whole time I thought that it was Jackie that made me feel so like invisible, but now I realize, and then she kind of like, she turns and that's when she realizes that the house is burning down. And I think that the reality is that Shauna is the villain of the show. Like Shauna has always been selfish. Shauna has always been the one who's like, what about me? I should be the main character. And it makes her the best character in the show. Like I feel like I have been sitting in my like old dark house with like 2 empty chairs next to me waiting for you guys, like, when you're ready for the Shauna party, I'm here. And we're here. Yeah!
I'm not on the Shauna party.
Jack, you already showed up.
Oh yeah.
I don't think so. I
You
said I
brought
would
the
have killed her
hors
first.
That's fine. I mean, hey, you know what? In Yellow Jackets, anything's possible.
Anything's possible in Yellow Jacket world.
Do we have any predictions for well, first of all, you know, I think we all probably saw the news that there is a secret episode of Yellow Jackets coming out, but due to the writer's strike, it's not coming out right now. It's going to come out closer to the premiere of season 3, they said.
I think I'm actually into that timeline.
Yeah.
Like
I'm like, so it's the season, it's season 3, episode 0.
Yeah, I'm into that. To summarize everything, my feelings about Yellow Jackets, I capital LOVE love season 1. And I kind of lowercase love season 2. Like I really enjoy Yellow Jackets. Like even if
we all love it.
Yeah, even if Walter sucks and it went too crazy and the ending was weird, like I love the show.
I agree with you. And I think it's interesting. Like when I was watching the episodes and I was kind of preparing, I was like, I don't know. I'm like sad and whatever. But like talking about the show reminds me, I'm like, hi, there's like a weird tribal cabal that's happening right here. It's like, I love Yellow Jackets. Like, I think it's fun. Is it a perfect show? No, but it's kind of maybe why I like it. And I don't know, season 2 is so off the rails sometimes. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, whatever. Let's just enjoy. Let's have fun, divas.
Yeah, I think it's the only show that we've dedicated like, you know, multiple episodes reviewing.
It's so good.
It is.
It reminds me when we went to the premiere of Boogeyman a couple weeks ago, we saw and met Sophie Thatcher and Baby Misty, who I don't know the actress's name,
Samantha, I forget her last name.
Yeah, and she's just as like kind of like she has like a mystique in real life too. Sophie does, so the Natalie character is super cool. I'm really looking forward to the 3rd season and like episode 0 of season 3 if that's what it ends up being. Let's talk predictions. Do we have any?
I have no idea where they're gonna go because with the adults now that they've wrapped up these storylines, I have no idea.
I have one prediction, and it's for the 90s timeline. I think that episode 0 of season 3 is going to be where our 90s cast fully turns. They're like the prey become the hunters because they are going to find out that the coach did it, or even if they don't have evidence, they're going to hunt the coach and they're going to kill him and eat him out of like just revenge. And I think that's going to be the shift of like, we are no longer just in the woods trying to survive. Like we are hunting.
I can get into that story because when we lose the plane and when we find the house, we're led by like the spiritual leader. And at the loss of the house, we move into hunter mode, right?
Which is Natalie's
character.
Girl!
We become violent and it's survival. I think that I think there may be I just got this kind of like flash in my brain. There's going to be a search party at that house. They're going to go and take refuge in the cave, and they're going to find some rescue, and they're going to find skeletons because there are going to be skeletons there. And they're like, there's been no survivors. Like there's the crash site while they're taking refuge in that cave, and they're going to be left there again for another season.
Oh my God. Oh, actually, no, I do think that another season. I mean, I could see them being out there for 2 more.
6 seasons.
I
right?
mean, like another year or whatever.
You think so? Yeah,
Lost.
they'll give up, and I got what you're saying.
I want to say maybe Natalie isn't dead yet.
She Michael Myers out of the body bag in the ambulance.
Yeah,
you never know. I wouldn't be surprised with this show.
Yeah.
Anyways, It was fun watching Yellow Jackets all season with you all. Looking forward to season 3.
That's all the time we have for tonight, but we will be back with a regularly formatted episode soon. Remember, if you have any listener questions for us, you can write us at creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com and we'll answer them on air on the next episode of the podcast. Thanks for listening, and remember, darlings, to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen. The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted by the Boulet Brothers with their co-host and producer, Ian DeVogler. Engineered and mixed by Carlos Bueno, with music by Neuron Spector.